FM. So I became known to the public via those medium, and so forth. So this is who's Wayne Chance in terms of my publicity.
Wayne, can you just tell us what you did that put you on the wrong side of the law, if that's okay, if you can just brief us?
Well, at the age of 19, I was in a vehicle that was a stolen vehicle. Me and five occupants, and the car was intercepted by the police, and we were arrested, and we were charged, and we went to trial, and we lose the matter, and we got 5 years to serve in the prison system. And it's during that incarceration, I was able to reflect back on my life, coming from a good background, a solid family, the only son that would have had that kind of experience. So I immediately, from within the prison system, began to turn a page, as it were, in my life. And not just for me, but help other inmates to turn their pages as well. And that would have led to the genesis of Vision and Mission, where we would have go about helping each other to transform their life, looking back at one behavior or what would have caused one to come into prison, and try to help that individual transform their life. And upon my release from prison, I went back to the prison and meet with those persons who I expected to be released from prison or come out of prison, and help them in their resettlement and so forth. So yeah, that's the reason why I ended up in the prison system.
Okay. Wayne, can you just tell us on an average how many deportees you deal with on an annual basis?
Well, we deal with I would have worked with over 2,000 deportees from 2004 to 2019. Over 2,000. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but over 2,000 deportees we would have worked with, both male and female.
Would they be the ones that came through your system, though?
They would have been the one that came through our system. But every deportee that returned to Trinidad and Tobago do not come to our program. They may have their family support system. That is those who may be in need of transitional services, persons who may need housing support, and other support in terms of employment, in terms of document retrieval, and other reconciliation services and so forth, and counseling services and so forth. They would come to us. We would be contacted by the immigration department, and we would receive them at the airport, and we would then transfer them to the different facilities that we have, that we house those individuals for a period of 6 months to a year to 12 to 16 months. It depends on the need of the individual. The duration of their stay may depends on the person's needs, and sometimes the person risk at times. Yes.
Wayne, on that note, do you think the government is serious about the rehabilitation of the prisoners, both while they are in prison and when they come out?
I think we have come a very long way. I think when we now started the need and the understanding of the importance of rehabilitation was very limited. But I think that now the government, and let me say all the different regime has come to understand the importance of resettling persons, rehabilitating persons to stop the recidivism rate, the reoffending rate, right? So we have managed to be able, more recently, to get the kind of support, governmental support, that can assist in their rehabilitation upon their release from prison, as well as there is need for more intervention within the prison service, um, because of the number of persons that are now incarcerated, particularly within the remand division. I note that remand inmates really are considered innocent before um, they are found guilty, and therefore they are not exposed to rehabilitation program. And right now, our nation's prisons are more overcrowded with persons that are in remand opposed to persons that are convicted. So you have more persons being released from prison out of the remand division that would have not been exposed to any kind of a rehab program per se. But persons who are convicted, they are exposed to rehabilitation programs to an extent. We within the prison system too as well. Those are conducting a pre-release program for persons who are due for release within a year in advance. And there we prepare persons for returning back into society, at all the prisons. So if there is a need for housing, if there is a need for employment, if there is a need for follow-up services, we are able to address that. We are not always able to be on top of every single persons that inmates that are released from prison, because some inmates may choose to not to follow up on aftercare programs because it's a voluntary program. It's not like we have parole system that persons are released and they have to comply with certain rules and regulation in order to remain free and so forth. When persons are released, they are released and they are free to do as they so like. But in a parole system, you are accountable for either 2 years of your release or a year of your release, depend on your sentence, depend on your crime you committed. So we try to duplicate a kind of follow-up system to kind of reduce the possibility of person being at risk to reoffend, being at risk to recidivize and so forth. Yes.
Wayne, do you think that there needs to be more collaboration between Vision on Mission and the government?
Well, we receive the kind of support from the government now. I must say, we are a part of the Ministry of National Security.
Okay.
So we get a subvention from the Ministry of National Security. We have recently received an increase in subvention as well to address the diversity of our clients' need. So we are getting that support that is required now. So we are working on expanding the program. We are working on developing different means of being more successful in what we do. So the collaboration between government and vision and mission, the public-private partnership, I must say it's commendable at this point in time. There is no complaint. There is that type of support that we have been longing for. So it is up to us now to able to produce the kind of result now that we are receiving the kind of support that we have been longing for to help reduce the rate of recidivism. But again, the challenges with the remand um, persons who are waiting trial, that is where we have the greatest of demand and the problem in terms of persons leaving the prison system, not being exposed to any kind of rehab program and returning back to certain kind of lifestyle. That is where our concern lies. And how to address that, we are having discussion with the Commissioner of Prisons to look at, and the Deputy Commissioner of Prison, who is in charge of programs, to look at how we can address persons on remand so that we can have a better handle on persons that are placed on bail, persons who are released through the court system, and may need of rehabilitation services, may need of counseling services. They would have been remanded for many years, some of them 10 and 15 years, some of 5 and 6 and 8 years, 3 and 4 years. Some of them would have not been remanded for the first time, but would have been remanded for the fourth and third and second time, and even sometimes beyond 6 and 5 times. So they are in the need of that type of services. So, but we do not capture that particular groupings because they are not convicted. We are now discussing with the commissioner as to how do we capture that particular target group when they are released from prison, because we are seeing the spike in crime is a result of persons who are being released through the remand division, right? Sometimes to help pay their attorneys, they continue to in a life of crimes, and some of them return back into that which was and into communities that is very high in crime, and they have sometimes no alternative but to resort to living a life of crime. So we want to be able to address that or expose those inmates to options that is available upon their being acquitted from the court or being placed on bail, or even families that may need of that kind of support with their children upon their release or taking them out of prison. Because there are cases where family are afraid to take their sons out of prisons because of the fact that the community that they are residing in is high risk communities, and they are afraid they might be exposed to certain elements. So sometimes they figure that, it's better that they are in prison than the outside here because they might be, killed and so forth. So family need that kind of support. And that is the kind of support system that we are putting in place. As a matter of fact, we are now completing a women facility in Claxon Bay that will now accommodate over 65 women. It's a facility that is well put together, and it is being supported by the state. We also have a facility in Waterfield that can accommodate 85 men. It's on approximately 16 acres of land, and we are developing it. We have gotten support through the EU to develop an agricultural estate. So where persons who are involved in agriculture can continue their trade, and those who may so be desired to get involved in the trade, can also get involved because we are going to have training on site, because the facility has training classes and so forth, so that persons can be able to be reintegrated and be given a fair chance to start their life all over. Apart from when they go through that resettlement, what we call a resettlement period, upon their release, where there is no overhead expense, where there is meals, there is counseling, there is support, there is clothing, and there is so forth for that first year of their release from prison. Because within that first year to 6 months is where persons are most vulnerable to reoffend, because they try to make ends meet. Because of that long period of time they would have been incarcerated, there is that need for these different items and so forth. So long as we are able to cover that first 3 to 6 months upon their release from prison, the likelihood of that person returning to a life of crime become very slim. And therefore, we are accommodating those persons for a year to 2 years, depends on their risk and need. And when I say risk, it's sometimes a person risk depends on the community he's returning to. Sometimes he would have committed his offense within the community that he lives within. And by returning to that community, the victim can now become the perpetrator. Or sometimes the idea of the knowing that the perpetrator is back into the community, he is not given the opportunity to really, even though he may want to change his life, he's living among persons that he would have offended and they may not be easily forgiven. And therefore it puts a challenge upon him to really be productive and to be safe. So we try to create a safe community, very accommodative, so that they can able to go out to work, come back to work. And we do have a money management plan with First Citizen Bank, where employers pay to that account the salaries of those persons who are a part of the money management plan, so that at the end of their stay at the facility, they have a capital, so that if they desire to rent an apartment, they can do so. The problem now when renting is that when persons realized that this person have a conviction for various type of offenses, sometimes they're very hesitant to rent their facilities or the apartments to this individual. So what we have done, we have established, even right in Lavantil there on the main road next to TSCT there, we have established a rental facility of over 16 apartments, where persons who fit the criteria are able to acquire an apartment there, and able to rent for another year. So by that time, they are able to go more or less into independent living. And we have seen a great degree of success with our clientele, to the extent that where the convicted division of the prison system, you are seeing a great reduction in persons not returning to prison. But as mentioned, the challenge in Trinidad and Tobago is the remand division. And as a result of the clock system in terms of trial timely, criminal justice system moving very slowly, with persons being placed on trial and bringing the matter to an end or some sort of resolution. So that in itself creates a challenge.
Wayne, I know
The
you
person.
do school tours as well. Do you think those are reaching the students because the gangsters are recruiting in schools as well?
Yes, we do outreach programs in schools, but we do so on the request of principals or deans or teachers or so forth. Uh, so when we are invited, we go to the schools and we use those model inmates as well to share the mistakes that they have made and try to encourage and motivate other young persons to learn from their mistakes by being wiser students. So yes, there are a lot of recruitment that take place and want to be like students um, in different schools. So we
Right.
try to diffuse those type of want to be like and try to expose them to the knowledge of um, persons who may want to lure them into a life of crime and to recruit them into a life of crime and share the consequences of living a life of crime, and the possibilities that one can face in living a life of crime and so forth. And we have the testimonies of persons sharing of their losses and the consequence they would have faced as a result of living a life of crime and not finishing school and following bad company and the pitfall of the life of crime and so forth. So yes, we go to schools and we do share. Um, as to the success rate, we have never really measured how um, successful we are in terms of how many students may not follow that path. But we do know that whenever we go to a school, we do have a tremendous impact on the students. They do pay attention very attentively to what we have to say, very undisruptively. They pay attention and they absorb what is being said, but they follow up that is left to the school to do. Um, and I would suspect that a lot of students would have adhered to what being said and take a page of those persons who share both from the female perspective and the male perspective to them on the consequence and the pitfall of a life of crime and so forth.
Wayne, when you look at the state of crime today, do you think we can win the war against the criminal elements?
Well, definitely the state could win the war against the criminal element. It's just the will. The criminal element is a very small pocket within the society. Um, they are very sophisticated, and as well as when we talk about the criminal element, we don't know what element of the criminal sector that we are talking about. There are different highfalutin criminals. There are the white collar crimes. There are those who are involved in the drug trade, the gun trade, the trafficking trade, human trafficking trade as well. Um, some of those persons are not persons who are on the streets shooting at each other, right? But they are the movers and shakers of many different type of crimes that are committed on the streets. Um, so if the the powers that be is willing to go after these so-called heads, the mafia itself, and the dons as well, to bring them in, um, that will help reduce the level of crime. But the gun shooting element, definitely the community is riddled with crime and a lot of
Yep.
the proliferation of guns are, I mean, is something else within Trinidad and Tobago. I think everyone almost have access to easily to a firearm. Um, and the crackdown, regular crackdown, the regular um, checks and balance will definitely reduce the level of and the incident of crime in Trinidad and Tobago, the gang. related crime, especially those that are operating within turf and borderlines and so forth. The Rasta city, the Muslim city, and all those different things need to be curbed. And these persons who are involved in these different type of gang movements are identified and are known to the police, right? But again, as mentioned by the commissioner of police, his salary cannot be compared to some of those so-called gang leaders that are receiving contracts, state contract, for hundreds of thousands. And instead of they look to live productive life and become a business entrepreneur, they chooses to buy guns and recruit people, children. And it's all a part of the political machinery, so that when the election bell is rung, they are able to manipulate the politicians. Politicians comes to them. So if they need to get a vote, they control a particular area, and the politician need to reason with them and to talk with them to get the vote and to get the support. And in order to do so, they might demand a box train, they might demand a repair school, or repair building, a painting, or what have you. So they have their methodology in how they manipulate politicians to get the bidding and so forth. It's just have to put on the foot firm and find a way. New York once had that problem, and they get rid of it. They easily erase of those problems and issues that they had. Trinidad had to make up their mind. As soon as they hold someone, they are innocent. As soon as they hold persons that are known to the community, known to the police, that they are involved. And then again, there are police officers, some police officers that are in partnership with Robe Element, right? I recall going on the Labast, the landfill, to empty some rubbish, and was take my I had on a chain. I forgot I had on a chain on my neck, actually. And a young man came up and with a cutlass and took the chain from around my neck. And a police officer afterwards called me to if I want to meet with the young man and negotiate and get back my chain and all those different things. I was in awe because, instead of he said they want to arrest and so forth, he wanted to negotiate and wanted, if I wanted to meet with the so-called leader to make a complaint in the community of the incident and so forth. So you have certain elements of the police service that need to be weeding, and take stock of and be treated, in order for those persons to be dealt with and dealt with accordingly. The true gangsters and leaders that are involved in, I was saying this recently in a life of crime, they don't go out and shoot nobody. They don't go out and rob nobody. So it's very hard for the police to charge them, unless by the new law, being a part of a gang or being the leader of a gang is where they can now place their charges. But those individuals, they get other people to do the bidding. They don't do the shooting either. If they have a problem with an individual, they call a shot. And they have the what they call the guntas that will go out and do the shooting, and they remain at home. And they appear as legitimate businessmen, legitimate contractors, and so forth. And but they are, in other words, gangsters and doing their life of crime under a particular disguise.
When
And they are known to the police. They are known to the police. They are known to the community. They are known to other gangsters.
Yeah. Wayne, a lot has been said about the Venezuelan influx as it relates to criminal gangs infiltrating local gangs. Do you think this could bring a halt to a new level of crime in this country?
Well, well, most definitely, um, the infiltration of the so-called criminal element that is escaping the unrest in Venezuela that are coming to Trinidad and Tobago illegally, going to continue to try to strive illegally, and they done on the run already and may be wanted as already by the Venezuelan state. They are not going to mix any bones or mix any matters here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
They are different culture altogether. They are different breed when it comes to a life of crime and drug trade and human trafficking and so forth. So if it is that element managed to make its way infiltrate the different communities and develop shop within our communities, we are in for a whole new business, a whole new barrage, a whole new level of crime, so to speak, a whole new level of crime. I would hope that I know that there have been instances of Venezuelans involved in crime and the kind of weaponry that they possessed. But I think that we underestimate as well the level of criminal activities that our local individuals are involved in. I'm not trying to make an excuse, but I know that our locals are very much involved in crime to a very high level and extent that they are the entertainers and of these Venezuela. They are the one who house them and entertain them and so forth. So it's something to be very concerned about.
Yeah. I just want to touch back with the gang activities, though. Do you think the government has the will to do what is necessary to stamp out the gangsters and the criminal elements?
Well, from as far as back as the honorable former Prime Minister, deceased now, Mr. Patrick Manning, he has been trying to erase the criminal element, the gang leaders. He tried to reshape and remodel those persons to fit back into society. That has turned out to be a failure. You had government have tried different initiatives, and to this date, there is still the element existed and is becoming more worse than ever and more daring than ever. So there need to be a very aggressive approach, a very aggressive approach to eliminate and I say the word eliminate because, our prison system is also challenged in terms of their needs that the prison officers have in terms of managing their inmates, and especially those who comes in to the prison system that are high risk inmates in terms of gang leaders and so forth, and not being able to access cellar phone and call shots from within the prison system. So there is so much to be addressed in terms of erasing the criminal and also the so-called gangs and gang leaders within Trinidad and Tobago. We have witnessed the death of many of those gang leaders, and as soon as they die, you see the rise of new members who are now gang leaders, and they are gang leaders that are able to find their way throughout the system in being able to finance their movements and able to conduct the recruitment and establish different groupings throughout Trinidad and Tobago. You don't just hear about Rasta City in Port of Spain. You hear about it in Arima, in South, in the small groupings in Tobago and in East-West Corridor. And you have the different um, organization, as they would call themselves, um, in different communities. So it is one that the police need to always be on top of, and a lot of different community group need to exist. A lot of community activities need to exist too, because there are a lot of young people that are unemployed, and there are a lot of young people who when the day come, don't have anything to do at all, and they are going astray, and they are coming from broken homes, and they the need for that kind of mentorship to help them to able to navigate their lives through all the kind of circumstances that faces one on a daily basis. Some of them are making poor choices, and as a result, they end up into a life of crime, and sometimes end up dead, end up incarcerated, end up, or as a result of an incarceration, come out and having struggled to find meaningful employment and so forth, able to start a business, and their life take a turn sometimes if without necessary support to the worst, right? And it continue to be a struggle from there on. So there's the need for a lot of community activities to help the business people as well. But so much, we say the business people. We know that the business people need to come out, but how much of the business people out there, or should I say, how much can some of these business people do? I mean, I go to different business people to help get employment for our men in our program, and we are successful with quite a few of them that say, look, listen, I want to help, I want to assist, and they hire some of our men. And if I tell you some of the places that hire some of these men, one would be a stun. And they are able to get that kind of second chance. So it's not that business people are not willing. They are willing. There are many more that should come on board, that should try to assist. But then again, there is the recruitment in the community, and then there is those that are unattached youths within the community. When I say unattached youths, they don't belong to any youth club. They don't belong to any youth group, any church movement, or anything of this sort, more than the block. And that block, they're not exposed to information that can assist them. And then they are unwilling to work for the minimum wage. They prefer to remain on the block and push marijuana and so forth, and watch somebody back. And there's a misconception of what is life, and those youths need to be reached too, and try to re-engineer the way of thinking. It's not easy because a lot of them are very young, and their thinking is very warped already, and they need a lot of intervention, because they come from homes where their father and their family are involved in a life of crime and so forth. So it's very difficult to get them to change their life unless some kind of tragedy happened to them, and you're able to speak to them from a place where they're back against a wall. Some of them become worse where they're back against a wall and stuff like that.
That's true.
So it takes time to really change. It's not an abracadabra kind of situation. It takes a lot of time to work with these persons to help them to transform their life and change to be better, productive, law-abiding citizens.
Wayne, I just want to ask you the final question. You've been abroad and had a chance to tour prison facilities and seen what they do to rehabilitate prisoners. What do you think is the main difference between what they do and what we do or do not do, as the case may be?
Well, one of the facilities that I would like to highlight is a facility in Los Angeles called Homeboys Industrial. It's a model similar to Vision and Mission. It's a model where former gang members are able to come and be rescued. They are supported by the law enforcement. They are supported by the business community. They also run a bakery. They also run a small restaurant. They're able to create an industry that where these individuals will be unable to find employment outside, they can find employment within. They are able to have their tattoos removed from the skin. They are able to be involved in different outreach. They are housed like how we housed individual, and they go through a process of transformation. The opportunities for resettlement are much larger because the state are much larger, and people are more compassionate, more compassionate persons. In spite of the United States being what it is, you still have a lot of compassionate persons that will come and try to assist persons getting a second chance. Our society is very small. Persons who may want to get a second chance are known to so many different people, and sometimes not given a fair chance. So the difference is the largeness of the city that the programs are conducted, the kind of industry that they have, that they can find employment and able to restart their life and that kind of thing, and support and so forth. But I think that we are getting there recently with the kind of support that we are getting now from the government. I think within the next 2 to 3 years, we should be able to have a greater handle on our life of crime. But we are persons who go through the criminal justice system, because we don't work with law enforcement. Unlike where I see law enforcement and different community groups working together, right, in terms of curbing crime and working with delinquents and so forth. I don't see much of that here in Trinidad and Tobago. Not that it don't exist, it is not as highlighted and prominent as you would see in different parts of the states like Los Angeles and Chicago and so forth. We would have even former members working with the police in terms of going into the community and working in terms of diffusing different gangs and operations and rescuing different young men and so forth. So you have that kind of support. We don't have that kind of hands-on support for law enforcement in Trinidad. If we have a problem with our clients, we have to go and line up like everyone else. So we operate very independent, even though we may have a police officer on our board of directors. She's still limited in terms of accessing resources, in terms of the kind of support. We're still very draconian in terms of our understanding of rehabilitation and resettlement and second chances. We're still very unforgiving. And one could understand why, because of the level of crime and harm that have been done to individuals. But at the same time, if we all become like the criminal in our thinking, and an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, right? then we would reach nowhere very fast, right? And we are already at a state of frustration and stress. So yeah,
Wayne, I want to thank you this morning for joining us via telephone for this interview and ask you for a closing comment, a message to the nation this morning.
my message to the nation this morning is that I know that the murder rate and the crime rate is very bombarding, very frustrating, very stressful. But I would want that we all don't isolate ourselves. I know it's very hard to get involved, but there are ways and means that one could get involved to help rescue this beloved island of Trinidad and Tobago. Let us not leave it to the criminal element. The criminal element want us to back off. They want us to fold up our hands and run from this country, run and leave our houses, leave our communities for them to manage and to run. But we are the good citizens of this society, and we have to make the demand that enough is enough, and 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 take back our society, take back our community, and do so with all boldness. Do so with all boldness, and not say put yourself at risk. But there are different ways and means, different organizations, different groups that you can lend your support, maybe voluntarily by counseling someone, or maybe financially in support of different outreach, different programming, and so forth. And we can make a difference. Eventually, block by block, we will have the wall up. So I would encourage the society, if you love Trinidad and Tobago, do not run from it, because it's exactly what the criminal element want. They want us to throw our hands up and say we're fed up. We are unable with these criminal activities, this surge of crime within our society, and surrender. Surrender. And when we see a crime, we turn our face. We don't report it. We try to avoid it because we are afraid. They really want us to live in a fear of crime so that we surrender and leave them to do what they have to do. But no, we are in the majority, and let us stand fortified, and we could win this war. They may win one or two little battles, but the war is going to be won by us because we are in the majority and we are wiser in our choice that we make.
Thank you so much, Wayne.
Okay then. You're
Thanks so
welcome.
much. Okay. So that was a conversation there with the CEO of Vision on Mission, Mr. Wayne Chance, this morning. So we're going to toss the news right now, and then we're going to come back to the program.